Hi, I'm Paul Kyogan from GKTuition, and in this video I want to talk to you about functions. Now the question that I've chosen to go through here is 2016 Paper 1 Question 5 Part B. In this question we're given the function f of x equals 3x plus 2, and we're asked to prove that the function is injective. So in order to do this, the first thing I would say is that if an inverse exists, the function is bijective. So in other words, if I can prove that this function has an inverse, then I know it's bijective. And if it's bijective, I know that it's also injective. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off with my function f of x is equal to 3x plus 2. And I'm going to try and find the inverse of this function. So really the easiest way to think about this is that I always imagine that instead of having an f of x here, that I just have an x. Okay, I have an x on this side and I have an x on this side. And what I want to do is I want to try and isolate the x on the right hand side. So I want to try and get this x on its own. So basically I want to try and just bring everything else to the left hand side. So what I would write, so I could rewrite this as, instead of having a plus 2 on this side, I want to subtract 2 from both sides. So I'm going to say that f of x minus 2 is equal to 3x. Now I want to isolate my x. Okay? We can start to treat the f of x as just an x. So rather than writing this as f of x, we can just write this as an x. So I'm going to say, right, this is x minus 2. And on this side, if I have a 3x on the right hand side, I'm going to divide both sides by 3, which means that this is over 3. So all I've done there is I've treated the left hand side here as if this was an x. And I'm trying to isolate the x on the right hand side. So rather than having a plus 2, I now have a minus 2. Rather than multiplying by 3 on the right, I'm dividing by 3 on the left. And the last thing you should write is, rather than writing this as an x, this is now the inverse function, or it's the opposite of what I started with, which is f, so it's f to the power of minus 1. So the inverse function is f to the power of minus 1 of x is x minus 2 divided by 3. So if you notice where we started, we were multiplying x by 3 and adding 2. And where we're ending up, we're dividing x by 3 and we're subtracting 2. So it's essentially we're doing the opposite. So that's my inverse function in this case. Because an inverse function exists, I know that the function is bijective. If the function is bijective, I can therefore say it's injective. Therefore, the function is injective. The function is injective. Okay, that's the most straightforward way of working out that question in my opinion. And the reason I'm doing it like that is because we've actually already answered part B. Notice in part B of the question, we're asked to find the inverse function. So part B of the question is actually just this. It's actually just the bit in the middle. So we can actually use that to answer B part 2 as well. In the marking scheme, they actually have that as a solution to B part 1 and as a solution to B part 2. So even though it's the exact same thing, for B part 1 I'd write all of this. I'd write this is my explanation at the start and this is my conclusion and this is my work. Whereas in B part 2 I only need to do the bit in the middle here. So again, I hope this video made sense. If you're unclear on any of that, or if you want me to explain it differently, then just let me know in class or send me an email and I'll try and clarify.